What is a seamless texture? A seamless texture is usually an image of something like a brick wall or grass that can be repeated as many times as needed without breaks or seams. Why do we need seamless textures? Using and tiling seamless textures means you can use very low-res images to cover huge areas in your projects. Like ground, walls, giant structures, environments, and so on, which is also extremely beneficial for the performance of your graphic card. So seamless textures makes performance go vroom. Seamless textures are iconic and a necessary tool since the early days of gaming. And I'm gonna explain you how to make them inside Blender. Let's make a seamless texture. For that, we won't need this cube. Delete the default cube. And also the light. Let's get rid of that. Okay. Now let's hit Shift A, Mesh Plane. We will use a plane. Also can hide the camera. And yeah, let's scroll in a bit and give this plane a material. New material, and change the principal BSDF to emission. Emission is a material that won't be affected by any light sources, so it's an unlit material basically. Hit the yellow dot and image texture. Change this to closest, and now we can insert our image we want to turn into a seamless texture. Let's take a closer look into the folder. So I went out and took a lot of pictures. Sometimes I have a goal, like I need textures for the floor, I need textures for the walls, or for giant structures, and so on. And yeah, with a goal, you will, I think, yeah, sometimes it's good to just collect and take pictures, but having a goal in mind is always good. So, for example, I just show you exactly what I took. So this stone wall, here just a gravel floor, ground. This is more a earthy, sand-like dirt ground, like in a desert or something. Here it's less orangey, more on the sand side, I would say. Yeah, grass. Yeah, marble. And I already cropped those pictures. I took pictures of random metal elements of buildings I found inside the city. Like here, very rusty. This is oxidated zinc. I think. Also rusty iron pillars, and here also ground, but with bigger and smaller, with more variation in stone sizes. Yeah, also here, this would fit perfectly into a forest situation. So, and here also a rusty situation. So, very important to know is the more noisy the image is you took and you want to turn into a seamless texture, the better. Because, yeah, like here, this is very noisy. This has already a kind of pattern. This is also very noisy. So, for example, this will be very easy to turn into a seamless texture. And this here, we have here some kind of pattern. We have to keep in mind the transition between the lines and the stones and everything. So this can be a lot of work to turn this here into a seamless texture. But yeah, let's start with an easy one, with a very noisy one. I like to collect a lot of ground textures, seamless ground textures. And I don't have this kind of desert sand ground, dirt ground situation as a texture, so I really need this. So I took this picture with my phone. The resolution is extremely high, but why not? We will crop it anyway and pixelate it also later on. So let's hit edit. We will edit it, by the way, inside Windows. Edit and turn it into a square 1 by 1. And I really liked the situation up here. It's also adjusted. And I like to increase the colors. Maybe make it a bit darker and make the shadows a bit popping. So save the copy. Save. Now we got a square version of this texture here. And still extremely high res, but we will change that later on. It's always better to work from a high res version down to a lower res version, because the reducing resolution still keeps some details. So it's not the same like if you would, for example, work with a 500 times 500 square. It's not the same as working with a 2K texture and scaling it afterwards down. There's a lot of information and details lost. So I always like to scale them later on down. Okay, so we have here the square. We're working with tiles and seamless textures, so we have to have a base square version. So this here. Let's go inside Blender. We already set everything up in the material. Hit open. And here, let's open it. We can't see it because we have to switch here to viewport shading material preview mode. Now we have this. We have this plane. Okay. Yeah, but we want a seamless texture, so we have to switch to UV editing. Scroll a bit out. And also here, hit the C to get a top view. Also switch here to material preview. And let's hit A to select everything. Hit S to scale and scale it out. Okay. And now, as you can see, we got here a lot of seams. And our goal is now to get rid of those seams. For that, let's change into texture painting. Yeah, so we can make this window a bit smaller. Hit Z, scroll in, also switch to material property preview. And let's hit the clone stencil thing. And I like to switch between the areas. So control left click and you can select the spot you want to copy. Let's take a very orangey spot and let's translate it here. Nice. Also, I think I want to decrease the strength a bit and work very organically into the texture. So take another spot. Switch the spot. So let's scroll a bit out. Okay. So far so good. The sides here look very awesome, but the top parts here, they are not blending in, kind of. So let's change that. Back a bit. Much better, perfect. I wouldn't change anything here. Okay, nice, looks very nice. Now, very easy, we can go up here to image and save. We just saved our first seamless texture. So, now we have a seamless ground texture, and we can, here back in the UV editing, hit A to select it. We can scroll out even more. The further we scroll out, the more it's clear that we used some kind of seamless texture and tiling it. But if you are here as a player character on ground level, for example, this would be the perspective of for a first person, for example. You can't really see the tiling going on. From a top-down perspective, it's very obvious. So now let's select everything and scale a bit more in. So you see here, for example, we it's nearly, it's not visible at all on this scale. I can't see any seams. Maybe here those brighter parts, but looks pretty good. So we made our seamless texture, our first seamless texture. And basically, if we want to have a different seamless texture, we just repeat the same process for every single thing. And like I said, if you have something with more detail, you have to put more work into matching up the lines and everything. And if you have a pattern, it's a bit more difficult, but noisy stuff like this gravel ground here, for example, it's very easy. So now, where is it? I have it here. Let's rename it to dirty ground to K. And let's make a copy and rename, and let's make I don't know, very small scale version, 228 pixel version, for example. So right click, edit, change size, pixel, and 228. Okay, save. So let's try our low-res version here. Pretty nice result. Really like it. Nice. Yeah, I want more variations, so let's try to make another one. Let's, we already saved our texture, so let's open up a new one. Let's, for example, make a grass one. I think, this version looks a bit more wavy, so let's take this one. Let's repeat exactly the same process. Turn it into a square I like the upper part. Increase the color value. Lighting a bit down. Increase a bit the shadows. Save copy. And save. So we made a copy. And let's turn it into a seamless texture. Okay, let's go into the UV editing. Switch to the top part. In our material, hit the open folder, take the grass texture, open up, and we can clearly see where we have the problems in the tiling. But it's very noisy, and I can't even see clearly the lines. So that's a good thing. Let's switch to texture paint. We still have selected the clone brush. I also liked it very much in this 0.860 with the radius of 50. I came very far with that. So let's pick a random spot, zoom in a bit. Let's hide these areas here. Zoom a bit out. Pick another random spot. Why not? Let's keep it like that. Image, save, and we have our second texture. Let's rename it. Grass, ground, 2K, 2K. Let's make a copy, insert, rename. Let's rename it 128. Right click, edit, change size, pixel, 28, save, and let's check our low-res version of the grass. Wow, nice. Turned out amazing. Pretty. I like it. Nice. So we just made two different textures. Okay, so like I said, let me show you something. A little special move to make this situation here, and we see here some kind of tiling, but we want to get a bit rid of that and hide the tiling. So let's for example, we have here this tiled plane, and we will just duplicate it, duplicate the material, and change on one material the ground. Now I will take the grass plane, or it doesn't matter. Go into edit mode, right click, subdivide and subdivide again. Now I randomly going to pick vertex points and we'll just drag them out. And just like that, we just got some variation into our scene. So, there's also another way to get this kind of variation into your texture. It's a bit advanced. It has to do with the node system inside the shading. But basically it's the same approach like we just did with the two planes and the the pulling out of certain areas, but it's in a flat way. It's more texture based than actually geometry based. But I think it's necessary to know this to get very interesting and new seamless textures. So let's do that. Shading, and it's a very simple setup. So we only need a few things. Let's hit add and open, type in noise texture. Okay. Now we need a color ramp. We can also, oh wait. We can also, like we would insert a mesh. Shift A. Search, and now we need a color ramp. Like this. And mix RGB and a mix shader. Mix shader like this. Okay. Yeah, like I said, this will be basically what we just did with the two planes. We will mix up two textures into one. Let's switch to the Z tab view. But let me adjust this. Okay. So now let's plug the stuff in. Oh, also if you hold Alt and left click and drag something away, it will disconnect the thing. So we have here our dirty ground, and we will plug it in to the mixer, and the color ramp we will also plug in this, and the function of this goes into this. Let's drag it a bit to the side, and this color into the emission and into the shader. As you can see, we have here this shadow, this noisy shadow. So let's bring those in more into the middle and make them a bit more pregnant, like this. Also, we can change here the scaling, but I think I will keep it like this. The details, so it will fade out a bit, and also the distortion itself, it gets more wave-like if you increase it. So, but let's keep it on 0. And here it's important to bring those colors to the middle together. And you can change it by dragging it onto the other side. So, and like I said, I want to mix up both my seamless textures. So we have here still a second slot. So let's just drag above this, right click, duplicate, drag it up down here, and just plug it in. Okay. Now let's change this second texture. We have so basically this and this. At first, let's change this texture here. Open the folder. Let's take our grass image. Also very important is here the mix shader. It should be on half-half. And yeah, we can't see anything here. Wait, let's press here to hide the overlays. Let's go in here. Our second color ramp. And no, I forgot about something. Change mix to multiply. Very important, multiply. Exactly, and here multiply. Now let's also here function to 100. So exactly, and I would recommend playing around a bit here. You want to try, your goal is to meet in the middle of the whole situation. So here on 0.5, but you have to do some fine tuning however you like. You see, this looks a bit more wet, like wet flooring. This is a bit more dried out. This faded more into the dirt. So this is really just personal preference, however you like. I like this fading. And let's make some adjustments here. I kind of like this. Let's keep it like that. So here is again a little overview. We have the noise texture here, where you can change those islands. The color ramp, which is creating basically the foundation for our texture in this noise, in these islands. We have the multiplier to plug in the texture into those islands. The emission, which is brightening it up, and now we are plugging it in here in the mix shader, and here we have the same thing for the second texture, and we're plugging it into the final output. Now we have one texture. We created two seamless textures which are fading into each other, and the dark fading makes for an interesting it simulates some kind of depth and wet flooring. And yeah, we just used two textures for this. Pretty nice. Okay, good. So what have we learned? We learned how to combine two seamless textures into one, to blend them into each other, and also we learned how to make seamless textures for our game projects. So I hope you got something out of this tutorial, and it was a blast to do something a bit different, more into the unconventional direction of techniques. And yeah, I hope you had fun. See you in the next one. This video wouldn't be possible without my Patreons. Big thank you to Davey, VZX, Toady McToadface, Tom Foolery. Thank you for being my first Patreons overall and making all of this possible with your giant support. Thank you. If you want to become a Patreon, consider subscribing. If you want to become a Patreon, consider becoming a Patreon. If you want to support the channel in other ways, consider subscribing, liking this video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments and watch another video. I covered a lot of stuff. So see you in the next one. Bye.